A flying pen slices the dark-haired guy's cheek as a voice bellows for him to calm down. The boy stands before the fuming man who points and screams, fed up with the kids' non-stop complaining. The dark-haired boy begs Luke to chill, swearing he isn't complaining despite his depressed look. Luke just keeps pointing and screaming that he's still whining. A scream echoes Lionel is the Golden Thread's deputy commander, so Luke ignores his constant whining about management. Two guys hear screams as they approach Luke. Keeps shouting, demanding to know why Lionel's bringing up his love life. The blonde kid begs the commander to stay calm, but his crew insists this time is different. Lionel wasn't judging Luke's private life, just demanding a work-life boundary. Luke was stunned Lionel traced the trouble back a month. Fina joins after seeing their poster, and Luke falls for her instantly. Their romance was no shock, the Golden Thread clan allows it. Luke played favorites from the start, instantly promoting the rookie to squad commander with a leader-level salary. Incompetence costs lives. Lionel's decision instantly enraged the women and turned the entire clan against him. A rookie girl was now their commander. The squad doubted her power, and whoever put her in charge was clearly unfit to lead. The clan senses disaster, so Lionel tells Luke to quit and marry her if he's truly in love. Furious, Luke hurls a feather at Lionel, warning him to stay out of his life. Lionel tells Luke he doesn't care who he marries, he's ready to give his blessing. Lionel tries to speak, but Luke slams the table and barks at him to shut up. Luke rages that Lionel nags him like his mother, leaving Lionel biting his lip in fury. MC screams they're the same age, but Lionel mocks him, saying even his own son wouldn't be this dumb. Lionel calls him trash, and Luke snaps. Luke hurls the papers at Lionel, ordering him to stop. He's fired and banished from the Golden Thread clan. Lionel crushes the paper, warning Luke fire him, and the clan is finished and he's never coming back. Luke slams the door on Lionel alone. He stares into the distance as Lionel realizes this is his second exile. Lionel stood outside the clan hall, bags packed, recalling his long history of brawls with Luke. Luke and Lionel founded the Golden Thread clan as kids a decade ago, and Lionel's been grinding to make them the strongest ever since. He and Luke mastered the sword while nearly starving. Once getting so desperate, Luke almost snatched meat right off a stranger's fork. The Golden Thread clan rules the city, but 5 years ago, they kicked Lionel out. Lionel snapped because Luke kept blowing his cash on girls and booze. As the clan grew, Luke blew the cash on booze and girls. Lionel called him out and got kicked out for the first time. 6 months later, Luke begs to return on his knees, leaving Lionel totally weirded out. Luke's in tears. Lionel is the perfect second in command, so he's making an exception and returning. Lionel grips Luke's shoulders and smiles. He buries his unspoken words, choosing to return to the clan by his side. Lionel knew Luke wasn't a villain, just an idiot he could easily control. Lionel smirked, fixing Luke's sloppy coordination on the fly. Lionel eyes his clan-s base, admitting he has a bad judge of character. Their spot by the trade association proves the Golden Thread's massive success. Lionel grabbed the handle, cursing his bad luck with his boss since day one. Lionel enters the association, proof on his mind he's been fired twice for total nonsense. Working for others is a dead end, so he quits to find a new path until screams for help ring out. Lionel scowled. What was the receptionist doing here? 3 girls are sobbing as one begs the admin for 3 more days, then just one promising to do anything for mercy. Silence, Lionel stood in the aisle, watching 3 girls beg the receptionist. The receptionist nervously clutched her hand, frozen in awkward silence. Lionel stared, recalling Jennifer's warning touch trouble, and you're part of it. He apologized silently and turned away. He feels a sharp glare and turns to find Jennifer, clearly pissed he's trying to leave. Lionel awkwardly asks the girls why they're there and if he's stumbled into an event. Jennifer smiles, warning Lionel things aren't what they seem. As the girls turn to him, she reveals they're expelled for failing to pay their sponsorship fees. Lionel's baffled. How are they adventurers but clueless about guild sponsorship? Even for rookies, missing that support is impossible. Adventurers fund every mission through sponsorship fees. Pay up, or you're expelled. With nowhere to sell monster cores or ruin loot and no guild quests, their adventuring careers are dead. Lionel grabs her shoulder, admitting they can pay the sponsorship fee. She stares at his hand through tears. Lionel pulls her close and bluntly asks if she's poor, stunned by his boldness. Jennifer just gives a sweet, innocent smile. Jennifer's skeptical, but Lionel thinks 2 quests in their first month is a solid start. Lionel insists she had enough for the sponsorship fee and asks why they didn't pay. She explains the prize was split, leaving her short. Lionel realized procrastination left them broke, while the girls were still happily reliving their big win. Lionel looks down at the girl clutching his sleeve, sobbing. She asks what they should do. Lionel spots her sword and asks if her gift is really hero, catching her completely off guard. She gushed over it and asked how he knew. So Lionel explains that most swordsmen naturally carry the hero gift. Lionel's words stun her, but he sees himself in her as she melts into a smile. She introduces her sisters, Blonde. Misha is a priest with the saint gift, and Miliaria is a sage with the wizard gift. No time for introductions, the wizard girl needed a plan to handle the sponsorship fee crisis. Lionel analyzes the group hero up front, saint and sage in the back. It's a perfect balance. Lionel envisions a massive statue, certain that natural gifts are divine talents the church grants once a decade. Lionel recalls Luke and the girl, certain this is a godsend ordinary fools don to get natural gifts. Lionel realizes Asuka and his old ally Luke are the perfect match for his strategist gift. Good strategists are rare finds, elite masters of planning, command, and management. These childhood friends are the perfect team. Their natural talent and mental link give Lionel limitless strategic options. Lionel sees the girls need a leader to unite their power. As Asuka cries to Jennifer for help, he realizes she's back to her old tricks. Lionel stays honest. But their bond has a catch. They're splitting all the cash and blowing it instead of funding the clan's growth. Lionel catches himself. He's retired, but old habits die hard. He owes them nothing until he sees Asuka's tearful face. Lionel spots 3 girls staring and knows he's in trouble. He suddenly shouts for Jennifer. Lionel points to the girls and asks Jennifer for their sponsorship fee. He's paying it all, leaving her stunned. Terrified, Asuka asks if he really did it and tries calling him. Old man Lionel catches her and questions the nickname. Malaria says Lionel's grown up, but he asks if she's really implying his return. The trio stares at Misha as she turns away. Lionel tells her it's useless, he sees right through them all. Panicked, the girls rush him, begging for forgiveness and promising anything if he doesn't leave them. Lionel's mortified, wondering if these girls are real adventurers or just working the streets. He grabbed Misha, but her innocent face judged his unforgivable actions. Lionel screams he won T. Leave the girls, begging them not to put their forms in his hands. Jennifer questions his resolve, but Lionel's retiring today, handing his legacy to the rookies as one last favor. Lionel stared at his empty money bag. Lionel couldn't reclaim his fortune from his old clan. He clenched his fists. Seeing Jennifer's worry, he knew he needed a new job fast. Suddenly, Leonella points at Asuka and turns to him. Lionel asks what's wrong. He covered the fee this time, but next time they're paying. He pats Oscar's head. She thanks scants, then asks Lionel if he's actually a strategist. Lionel nods, and Asuka agrees. He's quitting, but she thinks throwing away his rare talent is a total waste. Things get awkward. Oscar smiles, inviting Lionel to join the clan as the girl beams with hope. Lionel asks why, and Aski says the boy helped them, but Lionel calls it a weak excuse. Asuka's an adventurer to help people and wants Lionel to join. Staring at her, Lionel sees a true hero. Recalling his past with Luke, he wonders if he's born under a strange star, or if strategists and heroes are just inseparable. Lionel sighed, setting the record straight. He was fired for being way too picky. These childhood friends realize they're missing an edge and need an outsider to give them the brutal truth. Lionel reluctantly accepts the proposal and shakes their hands. The girls beam with joy as they take it. Back at the guild, Lionel thanks the girls for accepting him, but says he has issues to settle, leaving them totally confused. Lionel called the girls too broke for the sponsorship fee. As the clan's strategist, he had to fix their finances. Asuka's hyped the rookie wants the hard cases, but Lionel pivots, demanding to know their budget first. Asuka is stunned. Asuka offers 2 silver coins, but Miliaria flexes a gold one. Shocked, Misha shakes her bag and asks if they're actually rich. Lionel demands to know where the money went. Misha just smiles, claiming she likes eating well before church. Dreaming of a feast, she asks Lionel for a juicy steak. He loves the smell, but tells her they've got to stick to the budget. Lionel warns their cash only covers dinner, and Asuka realizes that's exactly why they're at the guild. Lionel's fuming, But their growling stomachs say it all. These girls have no clue they're being evicted. They just came for work. Lionel asks Jennifer for urgent extermination jobs as she scans her notes. She assigns a job at Hayden Farm. Goblins have been raiding it non-stop. With this timing, Jennifer suspects the goblins have already moved from livestock to hunting people. Lionel scanned the tasks and accepted, but nearly signed his old clan's name. He spun to Asuka, asking what their new group was actually called. Asuka smirks. Her clan is Hope, and they never let promising newcomers pass. Lionel found the name weird. A month after forming the clan, he's still laughing at the rookies. The boys track down 4 goblins. Lionel calls it an easy win, but warns the girls to stay sharp. Never underestimate even a single goblin. They're harmless one-on-one, but dawn to get cocky. Lionel spins, warning that the worst part of fighting goblins is the surprise factor as they trek through the forest. Lionel felt eyes on him as the girls prepped for battle. He rushed in, telling them to fight normally while he coached their unique skills. Oscar charges into battle. The girl yells her agreement, catching Lionel off guard. Lionel is stunned and asks what she means, realizing he forgot to warn her goblins are weak alone, so they always swarm in packs. Oscar charges the goblins. Lionel admires her heroism, but she shouldn't rush in alone. Lionel grabs his sword and yells, asking the girl if she's sane. He questions his teamwork ideals and reaches for his sword. But Milia stops him with a smile and a hand on his. Miliaria smiles, telling him it's fine, he's just there to watch. Lionel's shocked, but looks at Asuka and agrees. A goblin ambushes Asuka from behind, but she instantly leaps clear. She vaults over the goblin, dodging his strike. Asuka roars, delivering a brutal vertical slash that leaves the monster screaming in pain. Lionel admired Asuka's reckless but beautiful style until goblins ambushed and wounded her. Lionel sees her dodging lethal hits, but she's hitting her limit. Trapped on defense, she won't last much longer. He spots a goblin behind Asuka and screams. She spins around in shock as the monster lunges. The goblin slams her back, sending her flying. Lionel screams in terror as Asuka hits the dirt, coughing up blood. Misha fires a long-range recovery skill into Asuka, instantly mending her body. Lionel reads their style. Asuka wasn't KO'd, she faked it to recover. He knew Miliaria had to move instantly. She unleashes a magic pool, obliterating the goblins with massive power. Milia shouts 12 seconds left. Asuka grins, gets the message, and lunges into battle. Masha tells Lionel this is their winning strategy. Lionel snaps at Misha, yelling that strategy or not, they've only survived on pure luck. Asuka charges solo, baiting the mob spells ready. She drops into another country. Misha heals her, Miliaria nukes the crowd, and Asuka dives back in. Repeat the pattern until the enemy is wiped out. Lionel knows the girls will gas out first. Lionel lunges, obliterating a goblin instantly. Exhausted and tense from the brutal fight, she suddenly spots a massive goblin horde closing in and screams in terror. Asuka cowered, but Lionel instantly slaughtered the goblins. He claimed he's still got it, leaving her stunned. The girl shudders against Lionel, shocking Asuka. Lionel tells her to stop thinking, look ahead, and fight. Asuka smiles and calls the boy a comrade, but Lionel orders her to shut up and fight. Lionel spots a goblin and yells for Miliaria. They're escaping. He tells her to hunt them down with magic. Millie agrees and fires a magic bullet, but a goblin is already lunging at her back. Lionel orders Misha to guard Miliaria from the charging goblins. She instantly drops a nearby threat and confirms she's on it. Asuka slays the final screaming goblin. Lionel suddenly joins, catching her off guard. Victory in just 30 seconds. She stood stunned, unable to process the chaos. Lionel sighed at the massive moon, remembering the rookie who became their hope. At Golden Thread, Luke asks Fina to try out for vice commander. Stunned, she asks if it's true and if she can handle it. Luke agrees, mocking Lionel as a fool who can handle it, but Fina defends him as a great man. Luke doubted the hype. Lionel just nagged him about receipts, grooming, and sobriety. Was this guy really a legend? Luke calls Lionel a replaceable loser, but Fina is one of a kind. Touched, she vows to do her best and asks Luke for help. He agrees, telling her to just move her desk to the new office. Below Luke's office, two guys realize their talk is leaking downstairs. The blonde warns they're being heard, and the other admits it's game over. The blonde tells Nicole to stop the nonsense. Remember 5 years ago? They crushed it back then. Nicole said things were hell after the vice commander left, but the blonde kid didn't notice his return fixed everything. It wasn't tea, just guilt. Lionel came back for everyone. The blonde boy recalls the dark times when their clan almost vanished. Nicole agrees it was Luke and Lionel's first massive clash. 5 years ago, Nicole knew everyone believed the brothers' bond was unbreakable. Then he remembers Fina. She's the wedge between the brothers, and she's about to ruin everything. Nicole warns the new vice commander will make things worse than 5 years ago, but her comrade tells her to shut it. He's dying for the commander to see the truth, but until then, life is pure hell. Luke's hot-headed, narrow-minded, and overworks himself. He needs a right-hand man like Lionel to balance him out. He's hyped, expecting an apology soon. With the vice commander back, everything falls into place. Nicole agrees. We wait. The blonde kid says they'll keep taking jobs until that day finally arrives. Last time, Luke's apology brought Lionel back, but will it work again? Next day, food simmers over the fire while Lionel scrubs laundry in a basin. Beside a small house and stream, Lionel Thotha Lookout was a top-tier spot. He thinks about laundry, but the door swings open. Asuka steps out, calling Lionel to see something. Lionel screams in terror, demanding Asuka keep quiet. Suddenly, she begs for forgiveness, calling him Mom. Horrified, Lionel shrieks, "Why would you call me that?" Asuka flashes her clan emblem, asking Lionel if it suits her before revealing she hand-stitched it herself. Lionel stares in surprise, shrugs, and tells her she looks way better now. Asuka tells him to praise with more heart. Wringing laundry, Lionel asks what she wants now. Lionel says laundry beats love just for clean sheets. Oscar pouts and agrees. Lionel shakes the cloth, annoyed by problem girl Asuka. The reason he's stuck with chores appeared just days ago. Fight finished, Asuka orders the boys back to the clan. She's shocked by the flood of requests, but Lionel warns they can't afford to miss the sponsorship money. Lionel's tired of the long walk, but Asuka says they're close. Just follow the river to reach the clan house. It was a long trek, but the house sat right on the river Asuka points. They've finally arrived. She welcomes Lionel to the trashed Hope clan house, leaving him in total shock. Lionel couldn't believe this was a house. The girls rushed in for a bath, and when he asked where the bathroom was, a pile of clothes smacked him in the face. The girls invite Lionel to join them for a swim in the river. Lionel starts unpacking while Oscar calls the place amazing. Lionel folds laundry as Asuka mentions their scavenged watermelon. Without a kitchen, they're forced to eat outside. Lionel's stunned Asuka admits that even with a kitchen, none of them can cook. Lionel's stunned. He screams at the girls to show some shame, then gets back to hanging the laundry. Lionel hung laundry and started cooking, building a makeshift kitchen to upgrade his life. He figured they were orphans like him and Luke, so he knew they just needed a place to stay. This isn't how an adventurer should live. Lionel stirs the pot, knowing they need real food and a clean place to sleep. Lionel tastes for salt while the girls roll a massive pot. Misha delivers the item Milieria size, physical labor is hell for wizards. Lionel approaches the pot satisfied. He starts explaining his plan for the device, but Misha's expression stops him cold. He asks what's wrong. She looks starving. Misha's drooling over the massive pot, but Lionel shuts her down. It's not for cooking. He circles some stones and slams a massive cauldron on top. The girls are stunned, but he explains light the wood under the cauldron for a real bath. Miliarius beams, calling the warm bath perfect, stunned. Lionel asks her to repeat herself. He spots Misha's worried look and asks what's wrong, sending her into a panicked stutter. Misha bought a mountain of meat, mistaking a cauldron for a saucepan. Lionel's livid. Did she blow all her cash again? Asuka pops up and tells Lionel she spent the money too. She blew every cent on that chest embroidery. Lionel realized he wouldn't be back at the clan home anytime soon. Miliaria shouts her magic bullet skill, but Asuka dodges and charges forward. Miliaria's blast nearly takes Asuka out. Sending her diving in fear, Lionel barks at her to stay mobile and hug the line of fire. Asuka agrees and blurs into battle. The wolves cower in terror while Lionel watches with a confident grin. Lionel bolts after her, catching up as Asuka beams. Lionel and Asko flank the wolf while the boy circles the pack into a daze. Miliaria levels her staff and summons magic bullets, blasting the area and terrifying the two wolves. Lionel orders the move, and the wolf monsters are terrified. Lionel tells Asuka they're leaving and to keep up. She smiles. Got it. Lionel smiled at the girl, already getting used to it all. The group charges Lionel sees their goblin training paying off, but using bait is a suicide mission. Lionel wanted 0 casualties, but Asuka didn't wait. She already lunged at the wolves. He shouted for Miliaria to cast the spell, and she didn't hesitate. Millie snipes the wolf pack with a magic bullet, triggering a massive explosion. A massive wolf ambushes Millie from behind. She's oblivious, but Lionel's shout alerts Misha, who instantly drops the beast. Misha lands her hit and prays, surrendering to the supreme god despite the sin, then snipes Asuka with a long-range heal. Fully healed by Misha's power, the girl turns and smiles, praising her work. Misha asks if Asuka's fully healed, and Miliaria smiles, confirming she's fine. Lionel saw their simple tactics, but Misha's versatility kept them steady. To him, leading girls was a death sentence. Night falls, and the guy's toast to a job well done mugs up. Asuka hugs Misha, relieved the meat wasn't wasted. Lionel reminds them they're too broke to throw away food. Lionel watches Misha inhale meat, amazed she eats this much without gaining a pound. Asuka sneaks behind Misha, teasing that her fat is hitting all the right curves while Misha keeps devouring her meat. Lionel sat across from the girls, realizing he now saw them as his daughters. A voice snaps him back as Millie credits Lionel for 30 kills. Poking the fire, he mutters that only counts in the fields and roads. He claims they only fight on their terms. Asuka and Miliaria freeze, staring at Lionel. Misha kept eating while Lionel savored the fruits of his labor. Lionel froze, silence, their secret to winning fighting in the open during the day. Everything else was secondary. He leans in, warning that monsters strike when least expected. Asuka and Miliaria freeze, eyes locked on Lionel. Lionel thrusts a branch forward, fuming that the man was just sitting there as a monster lunges from the brush. He turns to the terrified girls and asks if they're really scared. A storm hits, lightning, strikes the mountain, and Luke hears the road is blocked. Boulders block the cart, the man yells, they have no choice, they're going around. Luke's about to detour, but a shout stops him. They're completely stuck in place. Luke curses but agrees they're in a bind, though they can still head home. Suddenly, someone snaps that if Lionel were here, they wouldn't be in this mess. Luke whips around, fuming, demanding his comrades repeat what they just said. The terrified duo denied everything Luke snapped, banning Lionel's name. Fina called from the carriage, and his fists tightened. Lionel's at the guild, stressed out over their next quest, while Jennifer watches him with doubt. Lionel stalled at the board, keeping the crowd back until Jennifer warned him the other adventurers were losing their patience. Lionel asks for a challenge, but Jennifer hesitates. There's nothing good for him. Lionel mutters about exosports, leaving Jennifer confused. He explains he's hunting for a rewarding quest to secure a warm house before winter hits. Jennifer understands and suggests mapping a new ruin site for an aristocrat. Lionel loves the idea and takes the job. Lionel offers a treat to prove his love, but Jennifer shuts him down. He's broke, far away, and currently staying with the Hope clan. Calling the clan beggars, she tells Lionel to eat better as Jennifer reveals the fall of the Golden Thread clan's second-in-command. She asks Lionel about his clan's rumors. He wants the details. Jennifer leaned in and whispered, "The Golden Thread clan failed the request. Capital Supplies missed the deadline on the danger route." Lionel asks how late they are. Jennifer reports a 3-day delay, making Lionel snap. She blames heavy rain, but Lionel knows that's a lie. He figured the Golden Thread clan's cargo was urgent military grade. They should have seen the rain coming this season. Lionel warns an apology won't fix a failed mission. The clan's reputation is on the line. Lionel tisked with a sad look, curious about the clan's history, but admitting it's none of his business. Lionel finishes signing and asks if he's clear. Jennifer nods, but as he heads for the exit, she calls out to him. He stops to apologize, but she refuses to meddle in another clan's business. Lionel questioned Luke's motives, but his reputation and clan came first. Lionel draws stares. Whispers spread that he's not the Golden Thread vice commander, and the current one isn't even a girl. They realized Fina was the vice commander. With the clan facing rebellion and collapse, it was time to cash in. Lionel returns to the clan. Greeted by the girls, Asuka asks if they're finally hunting the Demon King, while Miliaria demands to know the payout. Lionel begs the girls to back off. He's flustered, and their weight is literally breaking the floor. Asuka sighs, asking if they're hunting monsters again, but Lionel corrects her this time. It's strictly a recon mission. Oscar whined that map-making is boring, and Lionel coldly agreed. He scanned the gear, calling it a warm-up for the real search, hardly the epic quest he wanted. He claims it's worth it. Unexplored spots hide untouched treasures. Stunned, Asuka presses him for more info. Asuka squares up, hunting for fresh monsters, while Lionel realizes she's just addicted to combat and loot. Lionel agreed, warning of monsters and the need to prep. Miliarius weighed the risks. Milia recoiled in terror, warning that the monsters were way too dangerous. Lionel agrees Milia's right. He finally realizes his joke about monsters jumping from the dark actually terrified the girl. Lionel's group reaches city ruins. Lionel notes it's past, but Asuka just laughs. Her hands are itching for a fight. Lionel warns the girls about blind spots and orders a line. Suddenly, Asuka raises her hand. She screams to go first, but Lionel shuts her down. Asuka's shocked she's not first. Lionel explains it's the girl's first research request, then asks for her plan and if she's leading again. Asuka's only moving forward. Lionel agrees, but asks what if she hits a trap. Lionel's an expert, but he can to ID this tech era without looking inside safety first. Asuka knows he's worried, but tells him to start trusting her. Trusting him, the girl vows to follow his lead. Misha and Meliaria watch in silence as Lionel sighs, knowing she's right. Lionel saw the girls maturing slowly, so the boy agreed and took full command of the strategy. They pushed through the ruins on high alert, Lionel guarding the rear and scanning for danger. Asuka takes point, sword gripped tight. No monsters yet, but Lionel scans the area. Lionel warns it's too quiet. These monsters are smart. The girls ignore him and keep moving. Asuka tells Lionel everything's fine, promising to stay alert so he doesn't have to be afraid. Lionel hails Asuka as commander, trusting her lead. Nearby, Millie walks off, head down, haunted by a genius monster. Miliaria panics. She thought Asuka had control, slashing monsters while she sniped any misses with magic bullets. Miliari's lost in thought when movement stirs behind the building. Asuka instantly grips her sword with both hands. Asuka swings, slicing through a monster rounding the corner. Asuka's stunned, leaving a clueless Miliaria demanding to know why she's freaking out. Asuka yells to stay back. The monster strikes her spot, but she leaps into the air. Asuka screams a warning, and Miliaria freezes in shock as she realizes the monster is right behind her. Monstro shook violently, lunging for Milia. She clutched her staff, completely clueless. Startled, she turns toward the beast, but Asuka grabs her shoulder and screams her name. Asuka shoves a terrified Miliaria back and charges the monster. Asuka leaps, vowing to mince the monster if she can cut it, her blade already mid-swing. Asuka strikes, but the beast won to split. She's shocked her blade can't cut through. She leaps back, yelling, "It's a magic puppet that'll take massive power to cut down." Asuka realized she needed more power and glared at a terrified Miliaria. Asuka's attack fails, leaving Miliaria stunned. She realizes the monster is a magical puppet. Asuka tries to speak, but Miliaria just shakes in terror, staring at her. Miliaria fires her magic bullet, aiming her staff straight at a shocked Asuka. Asuka screams Miliaria's name, dodging magic bullets. She screams for magic backup, but the area blast fires in one direction, leaving the puppet completely unscathed. Miliaria's magic failed. Terrified, she bursts into tears. Asuka's stunned the attack failed while Misha watches in tension. Sensing something's wrong, Lionel reaches for Miliaria. Lionel grabs Amelian's shoulders and calls her name. She screams, spins, and blasts him with magic. Lionel freezes in terror. He signals her to calm down. Miliaria recognizes Lionel and cuts her magic. He warns Misha and Asuka the monster is targeting them. They need to stall. Misha nods. The girl raises her hand and casts holy light, engulfing Misha in a blinding glow. Misha screams for Asuka to finish the monster, and Asuka's sword instantly erupts with light. The girl swings, slicing the puppet clean in half. The puppet shatters, Asuka ducks as the beast explodes behind her. Asuka grins at another win. Misha smiles beside Lionel as he praises Asuka's performance. Miliaria stayed silent and rigid, sweat pouring down her face. Lionel asks if Millie's calmed down. Resting on the rocks, she says she's better and apologizes. Millie sat dejected, lost without the mental steps she always followed. Introducing her squad, she admits she lacks Asuka's lightning speed and Misha's sharp senses. Lionel pats Millie's head, telling her not to worry. She'll learn to handle the unexpected soon. Lionel says wizards can match a swordsman's agility without mastering physical movement first. They excel elsewhere, taking full charge of battle analysis and spell selection. She fears monsters and chokes under pressure, making an unknown beast her worst nightmare. Lionel tells her to adapt slowly and lean on her team. Millie giggles. Lionel worries he's overstepping with Miliaria, but Asuka suddenly bursts in, happily shouting his name. Asuka panics Misha is starving and they're in deep trouble. Fading fast, Misha gasps. She won't last much longer, her face drenched in sweat and drool. Lionel hands Misha a greasy meat sandwich, warning her not to overeat, and she beams with joy. Miliaria beams at Misha's praise, then shocks Lionel with a sudden love confession, leaving him stunned by her bluntness. Miliaria laughs, calling Lionel Misha's mom as he hand-feeds her a sandwich, while Asuka cracks up at the sight. Lionel begs to be called brother, but Misha calls him mom and asks for snacks. Asuka joins the joke, says Misha's better, and drags them back to research. Lionel asks if they call him mom because they reorphan silence, then the magic puppet reappears. Miliaria isn't scared, she confidently unleashes her magic against the beast. The puppet snaps, but Asuka shreds it instantly, noting its scorching from 1,000,000 area power. Millie calls it sad. Lionel watches her as she stares at Asuka. Staring at the broken magic puppet, she wondered who they were even guarding these ruins for. What was the point? Lionel claims guarding these ruins stopped a monster takeover, letting their ancestors pass down tech and culture for thousands of years. Miliaria calls Lionel a romantic, but he doubts it. Truth is, they only scored the treasure because it was being guarded for them all along. Asuka cuts in, calling the golems and puppets slow and boring. She demands more attack modules to make them deadlier. Lionel saw Asuka's battle addiction when she suggested blinding enemies with lasers. Lionel wraps up the rewards, taking a cut for clan funds. He warns the girls not to waste it, and they agree. He gives everyone tomorrow off, telling the girls to rest for the coming grind as they smile in relief. Asuka asks Misha for a walk tomorrow, but Misha declines, she's heading to church. Miliaria heads to the library, so Asuka shouts for Lionel. He sighs and gives in. Asuka pumps her fists, hyped for their city date, while a stunned Lionel scratches his cheek. Asuka tells Lionel to hurry, she's craving meat again. Lionel panics, fearing Misha's bite is contagious, but Asuka laughs it off, claiming she just loves meat. Asuka's stunned by the massive city buildings, but Lionel reminds her only the rich afford safety behind these walls. Safety meant no leaks or rats. Lionel found their low bar for survival tragic. Lionel thinks it over and agrees they can get a cat. Oscar panics, asking if he's cooking a cat. Lionel screams, offended, he just needs a cat to catch rats. Cats kill rats. Feeding them is a small price for a pest-free home. Asuka agrees, so Lionel suggests a pet store and she's in. Later, Asuka grabs the boy and drags him to the weapons shop to gear up. Later, the girl enjoys her bun while Lionel watches with a smile. Asuka teases Lionel with a cute maid dress. Then they hit a pet store where a cat instantly claws him. That night, Lionel hits the exclusive guild canteen while waitresses serve up a feast to the hungry crowd. Asuka winks, teasing Lionel for picking the cheapest food like a mom, but he snaps, demanding she call him brother instead. He tastes the fish, and it's incredible, way better than expected thanks to the spices. He'll snag the recipe to upgrade his menu, while Oscar realizes her mom is amazing. Asuka loves meat. Lionel warns she's a predator, so she jokes he's hot enough to eat next. Lionel snaps at Asuka for talking while eating just as Jennifer enters and heads for the bulletin board. She spots Lionel and Asuka, the girls, frantic, and something's gone dead wrong. She turns to Asuka with an urgent request, telling the boys to meet at the guild tomorrow morning. Luke flashes back to the Golden Thread clan to file a request, where an official demands he explain the situation. Luke frantically blames the rain for the delay, but the man cuts him off. He doesn't care about excuses. The elite Golden Thread clan is 3 days late, proving they're too weak to supply the royal family. Luke's stunned. He asks if it's a joke since they're only 3 days late, but the man cuts him off, claiming Luke's the one who's confused. He calls out the adventurers for drinking their lives away while the royal knights risk everything to keep them safe. Timing wins wars, but they don't get it, fuming. He blames the Golden Thread clan's delay for their recent defeat and lost soldiers. He mocks the elite clan for failing an easy task, cutting their golden thread supply and ending the kingdom's deal. He turned, scratched his beard, and issued a final warning stay out of the capital Golden Thread. Luke was terrified. How could the Golden Thread clan's reputation vanish in a single day? Luke's in his office, boozing and cursing, absolutely livid just thinking about it. Luke's livid over the compensation demands, but Fina hugs him, blaming it all on bad luck. Fina hugs Luke, promising they'll find a way, and he's grateful for her support. Node. The blonde kid tells Nicole the commander ignored his plans. He wonders if they're useless without Lionel and how much longer he'll have to wait for an apology. Joshua's fuming over Fina's moves, but Nicole tells him to chill. He rants that Fina replaced the deputy despite being totally useless. Joshua explodes at Nicole's calm, but Nicole's mind is set. Nicole suddenly quits the Golden Thread clan, leaving Joshua speechless. Joshua asks if Nicole's really leaving. Nicole says the Undertaker clan offered him a high-paying gig and invites Joshua to join him. Joshua realized Nicole was right. Luke and Lionel would never be brothers again. Joshua awkwardly thanks Nicole for the support. They shake hands as Nicole vows they'll never end up like Lionel and Luke. Lionel and the girls ride a massive caravan, trailing the royal family's banners. Lionel, Misha, Asuka, and Miliaria ride together as Asuka asks if they really have to join this strange fight. She nervously asks if they're fighting the royal rebels, and even Millie starts to panic. Lionel agrees they must hunt the mountain rebels, even if the enemy is just ordinary people. Milia leaps up, shouting, "It's all wrong, these aren't humans, they are creatures called rebels." The girl sat down. Realizing she was too loud, Lionel apologized, needing to calm them before the real killing started. Lionel confirms the order to crush the rebels. Jennifer agrees 500 mercenaries and adventurers are now hunting less than 100 enemies in the mountains. Shocked, Lionel questioned if hiring such weak adventurers was really okay. Impressed by the Hope clan's monster-slaying record, Jennifer recruits the boys. Jennifer claimed it was a royal order, forcing major clans to join and giving the guild a massive boost. Lionel's stunned but admits it's common. Jennifer asks for a BBQ invite as thanks, and Lionel says maybe. With 500 adventurers against just 100 enemies, everyone can safely focus on sharpening their skills. Hiring an army for simple rebels is overkill. Lionel smells a trap, but the girls are totally clueless. The youth tells Asuka and Miliaria to stop overthinking and ditch the logic. Clenching his fists, he tells them to just let go. Lionel sadly warns the girls they need to be crazy to kill, leaving Asuka stunned. Asuka confirms his words. She fights to kill because life is all about delaying death. She confirmed he taught her, leaving Lionel wide-eyed with shock. He's shocked she remembers Asuka warns him to stay alert or end up buried. Suddenly, Miliario starts shaking. Miliaria slaps her cheeks, the sting snapping her back to her senses. Her cheeks flush and tears well up as Lionel checks on her, but she insists she's fine. The brainwashing is complete. Lionel smiled at their growth, his eyes reflecting total peace for his comrades. He eyes the sleeping Misha, wondering if she was always this mature. She's incredibly calm. Misha wakes up feeling refreshed, but a worried Lionel asks if she's ready for their next mission taking lives. Misha asks the stoic guy what he means isn't crushing rebels the same as killing infidels. Lionel's blown away by Misha's genius. She's 16, just like Asuka from Miliaria. He stands by her side, looking on with concern. Lionel tells Misha to lean on him when things get tough. She calls him a caring mother. Misha relaxes, vowing to give herself to Lionel when the time comes, leaving him totally confused. A shout for silence hits the ranks. The adventurers huddle to listen. A leader introduces General Kaitos, the army's commander, who's about to brief the group on their strategy. General Kaitos orders a camp for the night at dawn. The mountain hunt begins. 500 royal troops have secured Ray, keeping adventurers safe. But Lionel spots a knight hiding in the shadows. Lionel caught a glimpse of something. The general looked suspicious. A total sly fox. Lionel tells Miliaria, Misha, and Asuka to prep camp fast. Their mountain hunt starts here. Deployment complete, General Kaito. The scouts report total success. Kaito smirks at the map, thanking the report 90 minutes until dawn time to prep the sortie. Flames erupt as fire arrows rain from the sky and the crowd screams, "The enemy is here." Near Milia, Meisha, and Asuka confirm Lionel was right. The main camp and supply base are under fire as he silently inspects his blade. A shaken Asuka demands to know how he predicted the chaos, but Lionel drops a bombshell. They have a traitor. As keep it even tighter. He says to deal real damage, they must hit the lead unit. A surprise strike on the HQ or supply base is the best move, but you need the exact spot. He already knew the traitor. Together, they watched the massive blaze. Lionel grins and raises his hand, claiming he knows Kato's informant while picturing the general himself. The adventurer camp is a total inferno. Lionel reveals the truth. The general never planned a mountain hunt. He announced the plan: adventurers hunt the mountains, the army guards the foothills, and the outnumbered rebels claim victory. Lionel smirks, telling her a surprise attack is their only shot, while the general baits the enemy with a fake mountain hunt. Shocked, Asuka asks Lionel if there's a better way to handle the rebels, but he tells her to use her head and chill. Pointing at the peak, he asks her, "Can 1,000 men really surround this entire mountain?" He warns that covering this massive territory perfectly is impossible. One slip up, and they're all dead meat. Lionel gleefully explains the general's trick. He lied about their numbers to bait the enemy. They aren't the strike force, they are just extra bodies to fill the ranks. The girls are stunned. Asuka asks if they're just a cover, and Lionel confirms it. No one saw this coming. He added the general still used mercenaries and adventurers. Glad he's no useless flower general. Asuka's furious the general gambled their lives, but Lionel just smiles. He insists they're safe, and there's still profit to be made, asking the girls if they get the point. Knights clash with rebels, but the rebels are winning, overwhelming them with sheer numbers. Dead knights litter the ground as a terrified survivor screams, crushed by an overwhelming pressure. A rebel spears a knight's shoulder, screaming to slaughter every royal guard before they retreat. The man screamed for a quick kill as General Kaitos passed the rebel drawing his sword. Kaitos instantly slaughters the rebels who threaten the knights, commands order, and his eyes widen. Kaito warns his knights not to underestimate the enemy, ordering them to encircle the rebels. Kitos orders his knights to massacre the rebels, but a lone warrior blindsides him, charging straight for the kill. A massive blast erupts behind Katos, taking out his attacker and leaving the general stunned. He spun toward the smoking blast as someone asked if General Kaitos was hurt. Lionel, Asuka, Meisha, and Malaria burst from the bushes. Lionel pledges Clan Hope's aid to the knights while Asuka grins, telling the soldiers they're saved. Asuka and Lionel stand back to back in the flames, flanked by rebel soldiers. S-Wing effortlessly slashes her foes while Lionel joins the fray, carving through enemies left and right. The Royal Knights are stunned as Lionel shreds enemies with the ease of a true hero. Lionel misses, taking a hit to the shoulder. He's fuming about the knight's judgment, but there's a hidden catch. Amy's losing her cool. Her calculations failed, leaving her wide open. Plus, Macy's holy light buffs the boy's sword while Asuka's blade gets a magic boost. Lionel's shock was just starting. Misha's long-range heal instantly mends the boy. Then Millie fires a magic bullet skyward, drawing every eye. Misha orders the advance long-range recovery triggers as Miliaria fires magic bullets. They're feeling unstoppable. A massive explosion erupts. Lionel loves the long-range magic support. Seeing Asuka happy, he knew he could finally fight in peace, knowing they had backup. Misha and Miliaria were cheering. They clearly had everything under control. Kaito turns to Lionel with a smirk. "Looks like an easy fight, Don, do you think?" Sword drawn, the man readies for battle, vowing to repay them for saving his life as Lionel watches in shock. He smirks, takes it as a compliment, and tells General Kaito to get out now. Lionel fights on, sensing the Royal Army's victory is near as Misha and Miliaria unleash their magic. Kaito demands their names. Lionel kneels, identifying them as Gyrian adventurers and himself as Lionel of the Hope clan. The girls kneel with Lionel as he introduces his clanmates Asuka, Misha, and Miliaria. Kaito praises their skill, calling adventuring a waste of talent. He asks Lionel to serve him, but gets only silence. One nod and Lionel's a knight. Remembering the book from his orphanage days, he knows he's finally going to make it. Lionel remembers meeting Luke, realizing their shared dreams started a long time ago. Honored by the general's words, the boy addresses Kaitos as Your Excellency. He stepped up to teach Meisha, Asuka, and Miliaria, leaving the general stunned by his decision. Lionel won't serve anyone else until the girls reach their full potential as true warriors. Kaito snapped, mocking Lionel for wasting his divine strategy gift to become a teacher. Kaito bursts out laughing, unfazed. He isn't even mad. The kid rejected his offer to become a royal knight. Lionel smiles nervously, relieved Kaidos is more understanding than he expected. Kaito tells the girls to be proud of their elite teacher, and they smile in total agreement. Back at the guild, Jennifer reveals a thank you letter from General Kaitos. Lionel agreed Kaitos seemed honest, but all they got was a thank you note. Jennifer glowed, telling the boy to be grateful since commoners rarely get a noble-esque thanks. Lionel agreed, feeling truly blessed. Jennifer confirms his official deeds are going in the history books. She hands him the letter. Lionel grabbed the letter. Knowing it wouldn't make him rich, Jennifer then told the girls they had gifts. Jennifer gifts Asuka a magic sword, Misha a boxed amulet, and Miliaria a mana tiara, leaving the girls flustered by the legendary loot. Asuka raises her sword, declaring herself Asuka Blade, while Misha equips her Misha as protector and Miliaria dons her tiara, Miliaria as Tal. Lionel suggests selling the gifts for a mansion, but the girls scream and refuse to let go. Wait, I need to make sure I don't lose the happy. Lionel nears the exit, asking if they're really living in that old hut. The general would definitely cry if he found out. The girls shout that selling the gifts will leave everyone in tears, including Tally Lionel. Suddenly, Luke appears and calls Lionel's name, terrifying the MC with that familiar voice. Luke looked rough. He closed in, claiming he'd finally found him, while Lionel backed away from his former comrade. Luke shuts his eyes. Lionel instantly shields the girls to block Luke's reach. Luke dropped to his knees, screaming for Lionel's forgiveness. Lionel stood there, completely stunned. 5 years later, nothing's changed. Luke slams his head down, begging Lionel to return to the Golden Thread clan. Lionel feared Luke would repeat his mistakes from 5 years ago, but the boy returned to the clan anyway. Lionel smiled sadly, remembering when he saw Luke as a brother. He was certain he could change him, clinging to the hope that he'd finally improve. Lionel realized he was wrong. He thought Luke would change, but he was just being stupid. Lionel eyes Luke, asking if he's finally broke. Lionel told Luke to take the cash he'd left to pay off to ensure he never returned. Luke was stunned by the cold-blooded move. Luke grabbed Lionel, calling them brothers and best friends, then bowed at his feet. Lionel coldly asks about Joshua and Nicole. Before Luke can speak, Lionel cuts him off. He already knows they ditched the clan, just as expected. He checks the others only. Luke and his new vice commander remain. Mentioning Fina sends Luke into a rage. Luke grabs his sword and tells the MC he doesn't need it, leaving Lionel stunned. Asuka cuts Luke off, challenging his drawn sword and warning him it's self-defense as she shields Lionel. Lionel glares at Luke, but he's stunned when Asuka, Misha, and Miliaria step between them, looking dead serious. Asuka warns Luke about the massive fallout of murder, leaving him shaking with fear. He notices her body shaking. Seeing this fierce warrior tremble leaves him stunned. Asuka trembles, waiting for Luke's move. Lionel realizes she's finally grown up, moved by the sight of Misha and Miliaria. He saw Luke was the only one losing it. Luke scrambled for a plan and gritted his teeth. The man turns and slips out. Lionel reaches forward, calling to Luke. Lionel looks crushed. Asuka apologizes, asking what she did wrong, while Misha and Miliaria watch him worriedly. Lionel pats her head, reassuring her she did great and thanking her for the rescue. Asuka asks if Luke was really his old clanmate, but Misha grabs her shoulder and shuts her down. Asuka turns, terrified. Misha asks, Asuka, would Lionel really look like this if his old clan only exiled him for bullying? Asuka felt sad, but Misha looked at Lionel, certain he'd eventually tell them everything. Lionel apologizes, but Jennifer already called the guards to stop a guild brawl. Misha wants the Hope clan to stay his sanctuary, leaving Asuka stunned and totally flustered. Asuka mentions the shelter, agreeing she wants things to stay this way as a breeze catches her hair. Misha sarcastically teases Asuka for wanting Lionel to stay. Malaria notes his obsession with her, sending Asuka into a screaming denial. Luke walked the city streets, radiating a terrifying, oppressive aura. Panic gripped the Golden Thread clan as members begged the commander to return Lionel, fearing they'd stay stuck and fail to pay the country's debt. Another man agrees they must sell everything to pay the debt. Luke snaps he's already on it, while Fina watches from the corner. Expressionless, she removes her butterfly clip and sets it on the table. Luke gave up, promising to find Lionel later and beg for his return, but suddenly the guild realized Fina had vanished. Luke headed to the Golden Thread clan, knowing it was over-devastated. He had no idea what to do next. He knew missing the royal deadline meant a massive penalty. Selling every clan asset won't cover the debt. He spots the sign, everything's already mortgaged. Luke wanders the crowd, stripped of everything. No fame, no home, no friends, and no brother. He's lost his purpose and has no clue how to survive. Fina was his last hope, but spotting her dark hair and butterflies left him paralyzed with shock, hatred, and total confusion. Luke sees Fina looking beautiful, but her warm smile isn't for him. She's beaming at a total stranger. Fina whipped around in terror, sensing the brutal danger closing in. Luke draws his blade, eyes burning with rage and grief as he storms toward the girl who betrayed him. Luke severs Fina's hand, stunned by shock. She feels no pain, but Luke's eyes burn with brutal rage. Guards seize Luke as he lunges to finish Fina. She collapses, blood spraying from her wound. Later, a tavern bard sings of the sunset and the butterfly dance's end. The crowd is stunned. The lyrics perfectly mirror the Golden Thread clan's fate. He wrote it without villains or schemes. To these men, there are no bad guys, just idiots and slackers. He asks about the Golden Thread leader facing execution. He's lucky, the man replies. If she died, he'd be executed. Since she lived, the clan head only gets prison. His sins meant a lifetime of toil. The Golden Thread clan had a grand name, but they hit rock bottom just as hard. A kitten plays with trash in a wall crack until Lionel's sudden shout to the King of Lions freezes it in terror. Lionel's glad the kitten missed the trash, reminding it to hunt rats, not scratch Miliaria notes. He looks like a father who finds more comfort in his pet than his own relatives. Lionel tells her to stop the lies, but Millie calls him oversensitive. She asks why he's not at a casino. Millie's turf is bad news for Lionel. He snaps that kids shouldn't push adults toward gambling and girls. Miliaria laughs it off and tells Lionel to get lost so she can clean, while he grumbles that her attitude is only getting worse. He's broke and hates the woods. Millie spots a letter on the table and reaches to read it. Lionel slams his hand down, hiding the letter from Miliaria's sight. Lionel forbid Millie from reading the letter, looking crushed as he snatched it away, leaving her stunned. Millie's stunned Lionel is broke. Seeing his outfit, she screams, picturing him as a depraved degenerate heading to a club. Millie screams, calling him a hypocrite for preaching restraint while he sneaks off to see a woman with a love letter. Lionel fights over the letter and heads for the exit, wishing the girl luck. Cleaning Miliaria calls out, but he ignores her. Later at the guild, he whispers his love to Jennifer and asks her for a tea date. Jennifer shoves Lionel's hand away, mocking his lost courage from his old clan. Lionel is devastated. She laughs, asking if he finally got a cat. Lionel screams, "Is now really the time?" Jennifer laughs it off, asking if he's thirsty and mentioning the training grounds fountain. The boy finally remembers the location. Lionel asks Jennifer if everyone's being cold lately. Surprised, she denies it. She explains they're training to stop relying on Lionel, leaving him stunned and demanding answers. He broke down laughing and crying, claiming he'd soon be worthless. Jennifer was lost and demanded an explanation. Jennifer shoves the boy, telling Lionel to grab a drink and rethink his stance. Lionel just sighs. Lionel gulps water at the training ground fountain, feeling like he's finally back to life. He spots warriors sparring and figures they're just a group of enthusiasts. Lionel spots Asuka training and calls her name, but she ignores him completely. Asuka charges into the fray, ignoring Lionel entirely. He's stunned by her sharp, lightning-fast movements as she lunges forward. The enemy blade lunges for Asuka's head, and she spots the incoming strike. Asuka slips the man's sword, ducking low to slide right under the swing. Lionel watched the duel, stunned as Asuka's skills grew sharper every single day. Asuka swings her massive sword with both hands, completely unfazed and in total control. Lionel grinned. In just 3 months, Asuka was unrecognizable, and soon, she might even surpass her master. Lionel watches Asuka's duel, but she senses a presence and turns to find him staring. The girl waves and calls his name, but Lionel spots a man behind her mid-swing, unable to stop. Asuka tries to greet Lionel, but he slams her head so hard she bites her tongue and spits blood. Walking through the guild halls, the girl proves she was right all along. Lionel says rest is training too. The girl scratches her head and apologizes. Asuka smiles, feeling her power surge. Lionel sighs, understanding her completely. Lionel bans her from training alone, warning that if she gets hurt, their entire clan is finished. She calls Linal mommy again, so he warns her disobedient kids get punished. Asuka asks Lionel for a spanking. He screams a hard no, and she's left mortified. Lionel spots Jennifer waiting nearby. She waves sweetly and beckons the boys over. Jennifer smiles and offers Lionel a wonderful request, but the truth only makes him angrier. He asks why the vibe turned dark. Jennifer grins wickedly, and he immediately backtracks with an apology. Jennifer reveals the mission and escort to the royal capital. A stunned Asuka asks if they're guarding the princess herself. Jennifer lands a merchant bodyguard gig, but Asuka pouts, calling it a total bore. Lionel doubted they'd find quests in the capital, then asked why this specific job was perfect for them. The client wants female guards, and the boys got 3 beauties Jennifer sold, but Lionel smells a dirty crime. He realized the request meant girls, which spelled trouble. There's a hidden motive here, and the person behind it is twisted. Jennifer mocks them for thinking she didn't check. Too bad the requester was a girl, not a man. Lionel finally got it. The girl trader would be miserable around strange male guards. Jennifer accepts the guild's request. The Hope clan moves out in 3 days. Anita, the caravan leader, thanks the group for the escort. Turns out the client really was a girl. Lionel wasn't warned about the extra men. Anita's terrified. These guys look lethal, and something's definitely off. Misha's eyes flare with light, terrifying even her. Misha claims a revelation from the supreme god as Asuka and Miliaria shake hands, thrilled to meet her. Lionel asks if she felt the evil. Misha confirms he's stunned. Saint revelations from the supreme god are incredibly rare. Masha's evil sensing ability triggers a sudden warning, and she instantly alerts Lionel of the danger. The man grabs Anita's shoulder, and she's clearly uncomfortable. Warning or not, Lionel knows something is dead wrong. Misha demands proof, calling their theory a total guess. She understands. Misha decides to play dumb and update Miliaria later, but Lionel insists on telling Asuka last because her acting is trash. The boys watch Anita tend the horse, vowing to help the miserable girl later. Lionel agreed, counting on Misha's help while knowing she was in serious danger. Misha smiles, knowing Lionel would agree. She's thrilled he's finally on board. They were pure evil, and Anita wasn't just bait. She was something far worse. Ayuya and Misha walk ahead. Lionel wondered why this request even appeared. Let's try to be even faster. Watching the cheerful Miliuia. Gaeli to the capital usually takes a week, but a storm 3 months ago destroyed the main road. Broken and neglected, this back road forces constant detours. That's where the real danger lies. 0 taverns ahead means no rest and nowhere to sleep. Lionel maps a 2-day camp with one rule: keep the fires burning and stay ready for an emergency. The man cut Lionel off, telling him to relax. They've done this plenty of times before. Lionel sneered, warning the rookies to be extremely careful. He finally sees why the girls trust him. The kid's serious, and they know they can count on him. The creepy man calls Lionel serious and calm, then turns to Anita, who shudders in terror. She agreed with him, but her face stayed cold and miserable. Lionel watched the girl sadly as she checked the cart to see if she was okay. The man grabs Lionel's shoulder, smiling as he apologizes and calls Anita shy, but Lionel hates what he's hearing. Lionel suspects the man's true colors will show at camp. The man offers a break so the girls can recover, and Asuka agrees. He expected a slip-up by day 2. These pros had been running this same scheme for months. The trader's influence made them untouchable, letting them mock the girls who had no way to strike back. If she vanishes mid-quest, no one investigates. The law stays blind, and the guild won to lift a finger. Adventurers die forgotten while these villains keep getting away with it. Lionel's been plotting their 3-day mountain trek. He's dead serious and already has a plan ready to go. Lionel looked at Misha, remembering he'd already warned her what would happen. Lionel saw Misha's beauty and knew she'd be the first target hit. Lionel looks back to find the caravan men losing it over Misha, faces flushed and drool dripping. The man tells Lionel to tense up time for dinner. The man took over the cooking while Lionel told the exhausted merchants to rest, no need to stay on guard. The men hugged Anita, calling her the best cook. One taste and any adventurer would be licking their fingers. Anita sadly promised an unforgettable dinner, looking completely exhausted. She forced a self-loathing smile, leaving Lionel shocked by her expression. Later, a hyped Asuka digs into 2 plates of bread and soup. Asuka calls Anita a nice girl, catching her off guard and leaving her absolutely thrilled. Anime smiled sadly, saying cooking was her way of repaying them, but Lionel caught her look and grew wary. Lionel told her to eat before it got cold. Anita was shocked and terrified. Asuka digs in, and the girls love the food, but Anita watches them eat with a heavy heart. Misha loved the meat. Miliaria joked about her obsession, and they shared a laugh over the meal. Lionel takes a bite, scolding them for talking with a full mouth as he tastes the food. Lionel's spoon drops as his hands tremble. Terrified, he asks what's happening to his body while Anita watches in sorrow. Lionel blacks out and slumps from his seat, his food crashing down with him. Lionel grabs his chest and collapses. Asuka screams his name, her face twisted in pure horror. She gets sick too, and they both collapse. Asuka's stunned as Miliaria hits the deck and Misha desperately clings to the table. The men mocked Lionel's stupidity. Their plan worked perfectly. They mocked Lionel for playing strategist, stunned his talent failed him. Another man grabbed a rope, ready to tie the boy up just in case. Suddenly, Lionel spins and delivers a massive kick to one of the men. Lionel sprang up and barked at the girls to move now. Asuka laughs like a savage, relishing the kill. The boys are clueless, but as someone sneaks up behind him, the girls scream a warning. Anita strikes from behind, dropping the man before he can sneak up. He tells Anita she saved him. Stunned, she fought them off. She grips her club and gasps for air. Hours ago, Anita was prepping food with a jar of medicine when Lionel suddenly called her name, making her shudder. She says dinner isn't ready, but Lionel smiles. He's not here for food, he just wants to help. Lionel usually cooks for the girls, so sitting idle while his meal is prepped feels wrong. Anime winces and insists she's fine, but Lionel calls her out for lying. He tells her the pain ends now. Anita clutches the jar and breaks down in tears. Anita wipes her tears, apologizing for her past crimes. Lionel reveals he knew everything and he's ending it today. She stops crying. Lionel strikes a deal, help for help. He grabs the medicine and smirks. He's clearly got a plan. The man brands Anita a traitor, telling the party she's the mastermind who played every female adventurer. The men mock the rookies, asking if they really think they'll get away with this. Lionel sits and disagrees, his dark expression radiating pure murderous intent. Lionel warns that adventurers never forgive. If a man fails his revenge, he passes the grudge to his kids and grandkids. They'll hunt you for generations. Expose their crimes to finally avenge the victims. Lionel knows the top guilds will step in. Lionel cackles like a movie villain, leaving Anita terrified as her image of him shatters. Oscar turns to him, asking how to handle the captives. Lionel poked the man with his scabbard, offering a choice: turn them into the police or stick to the plan and escort Anita to the capital. The girls glowed, signaling their next move. Lionel knew their plan and looked away. He sticks to the plan. They're heading to the capital, Gorengran. The girls cheer as the sun peaks over the mountains. Asuka took the reins, exhausted. She admitted she was finally getting the hang of driving, despite how strange it felt at first. Reaching the closed gates, the girl gapes at the massive scale of the capital, Gorengran, as Lionel confirms they've almost arrived. The carriage stops and Lionel greets a soldier. He asks if they're the Hope Clan adventurers. Turns out, the city was already expecting them. Hearing the announcement, the crowd swarms the carriage to see the Hope Clan, leaving Asuka baffled by their wild reaction. Lionel stepped up and introduced himself as the Hope Clan's leader while Asuka watched. Lionel kept his promise and caught the criminal terrorizing the adventurers. Seeing the men as fear, the young man knew they were finished. The knight thanks the Hope Clan leader and tells Lionel the garrison commander wants a word. He points the way down the road, right at the third camp. Lionel understands. Lion told Asuka he'd handle the rest, reaching for the reins as she stared back in total confusion. Lionel tells her to rest. They enter the city, and Asuka is stunned by the view. They hit the city gates, and Asuka's jaw drops. Every eye is glued to the Hope Clan's carriage. The crowd erupts, chanting Asuka, Miliaria, and Misha's names. The girls are stunned. The capital is treating them like superstar adventurers. Riding in his carriage, Lionel reflects on Asuka, Miliaria, and Misha, the heroines who crushed those criminals. Lionel watches the girls and realizes he's the same. He craves the spotlight and the crowd's praise. Mistaken for a coachman, Lionel fumes like a demon, shouting at the crowd to clear the path for an oncoming carriage. Later, under a clear sky, booming laughter echoes from a massive luxury mansion. The teacher tells Lionel he's just a coachman, claiming true leaders give their team all the glory. Lionel notes how cheerful he is. He points out the laughing General Catus, and the man instantly begs for forgiveness. Kaitos pivots, sensing Lionel needs a favor. He tells the kid to start talking. Lionel disagrees. For a weird reason, he wants to talk about the man who sent them to the capital. Lionel's sure Kaido heard about the incident. Kaido agrees, noting he's read all about the clan's massive success in the papers. Exactly. The Hope clan's fame exploded, landing the girls in the headlines, but trouble was brewing. She got sympathy as a victim, but the suspicious stares and her own actions made things worse. Her company fired her, handed the 7 criminals to the kingdom, and is now facing bankruptcy from public backlash. Selfish co-workers keep blaming her, demanding she just shut up and suffer in silence. General Kaita brings up the man harassing Lionel, claiming he knows him personally. Lionel asks for backup, but General Kaido just stares him down. General Kaitos laughs off the tiny request. With the kid's fame skyrocketing, he agrees, claiming he's happy to be in debt, but he'll definitely pay it back later. Lionel nervously thanked him, offering extra cash for the help. General Kaitos questioned his strange behavior. He asks if the kid's broke, then tosses extra cash on top. Lionel asks if he's finally accepting the proposal. General Kaitos smirks. Why not? Lionel nervously sips his tea as the man recalls drunks wasting their fortunes on such trivial nonsense. Smirking, the man pours tea and demands info on the Golden Thread's former leader as a crushed Lionel sinks into despair. Deep in the dungeon, a knight approaches Luke's cell and orders number 214 to get out. The warden shocks Luke with a sudden pardon, ordering him to meet the man who bought his freedom. He's given 30 minutes to clean up Luke, stunned he didn't know a pardon was even possible. The man ditches Luke in the bathroom for 30 minutes. Alone and confused, Luke wonders why the vibe suddenly shifted. Luke shaves for freedom, stunned they're letting him clean up before his release. Lionel whispers in Luke's ear, warning him not to do anything reckless. Luke knows taking risks is a death sentence. He checks the mirror and freezes in terror. His former brother Lionel is standing right behind him. Luke cursed, slumped over the sink in misery. Dropping his razor, he couldn't believe Lionel's words were haunting him now. A knight bursts in, calls number 214 and yells, "Time's up," while Luke fixes his hair. Later, Kaido asks if Luke really led the Golden Thread clan. Luke confirms it, and Kaido reveals he's officially out of prison. He tells Luke to thank King Morrison, but Luke doesn't realize a high-ranking official just begged the king to spare his life. Luke never had friends like this. He bowed, thanking them and apologizing for the trouble. Luke asks General Kaitos about the pardon. Was it someone's recommendation? Kaido reveals he recommended Luke and asks the man if he has a problem. General Kato crossed his arms, telling Luke to be reasonable. Luke stayed silent, head bowed. Luke didn't know Kairos, so he wouldn't vouch for him. Someone was pulling the strings. Suddenly, Karendor, the man who pardoned him, stood up with a hateful. Luke fumed. Why the pity if Lionel cared? Why ignore the Golden Thread crisis just to act superior now? Kaitos tosses Luca a bag of cash. It's not much, but it's enough to get him back on his feet. Luke imagined Lionel behind him, handing over the cash, a mockery. This money was Lionel's gift. Luke felt mocked by his former brother, fists shaking. He thanked General Kaitos for his generosity. Later, General Kaitos invites Lionel to his mansion. They head to a gazebo deep in the garden. Kaitos relayed the words and saw Luke's eyes flash like a cornered, wounded animal. Lionel sadly agreed he knew that look anywhere. Radiating a dark aura, he told Lionel he'd have killed him instantly. People like that are nothing but trouble. The general warns Lionel that his old comrade Luke is coming. Lionel just smirks if he shows up. He'll kill him as a correction. Catus is stunned by Lionel's speech, calling the kid a freak. Lionel just laughs awkwardly and scratches his head. Kato pivots back to Anita. He gets the boy's motives, but wonders why not just recruit her into the clan. Lionel trembles, stammering that he's too broke to hire anyone. Kato realizes he just hit a major nerve. Shocked, an unrivaled strategist lived in filth. He renewed his offer, join as second-in-command and leave poverty behind forever. Lionel awkwardly declines Kaido's offer, refusing to leave his girls until they're first-class adventurers. Lionel introduces the team. Asuka screams over an empty bag, Misha's starving, and Lionel's sure they'll never be top-tier warriors. Lionel breaks down, crying that he can't abandon his student General Kaya jokes. He's like a stressed-out mom struggling with her kids. The man offered the Hope clan a massive payday, and Lionel instantly stopped crying to accept. Later, Lionel gripped the letter in fear. He'd agreed too fast, and something about this request felt wrong. Lionel checked the reward. Why did cleaning a mansion pay more than slaying goblins? It made no sense. Asuka's glad Kaido handled Anita and the Hope clan, plus he gave her Jennifer's sword. He's now her second favorite after Lionel. Milia cuts Asuka short, turning nervously to Lionel standing right beside her. She clasped her hands, arguing that relying on Kaido meant they must rush to his aid in a crisis. Was she right? Misha licks a lollipop and tells Lionel it's lucky he's friends with General Kaitos. She keeps licking her candy, but Lionel warns it's no good, leaving Misha stunned. Lionel warns if Kaitos falls or is accused of treason, the entire Hope clan goes down with him. Misha and Millie stare down Lionel, dead serious. They never saw this coming. Playtime is over. Asuka jokes that overthinking causes baldness, sending a panicked Lionel into a frantic hair check. By evening, Asuka screamed through tears, calling General Kaitos a total fool and cursing the man she despised. Lionel reminds Asuka she claimed to love General Kaitos this morning, but she's too busy gawking at the massive mansion. Miliaria sighs, noting the massive reward guarantees a mansion, while Misha laughs, knowing big pay means a brutal mission. The girls strip down as Misha warns they're wasting time, sending Miliaria racing to clean the second floor. Lionel hid his face in shame, fumbling for his clothes and asking why they stripped Misha's reason. They didn't want to stain their gear. She says if they get dirty, they'll just bathe and walk home in their gear, while Lionel waves with his eyes shut and the guy tells the girls to change. He touches Misha, making her scream until he stops. Flustered, she shuts her eyes tight. Lionel yanks his hand back and stammers an apology, while a blushing Misha just clutches her cheek in silence. Lionel's baffled. Did they seriously forget spare clothes? Now he has to check their bags before every mission. Miliaria packs her clothes and calls Lionel dead wrong, but he just asks if he's really that mistaken. Miliaria smirked at the boy as the girl insisted these were their only clothes. Asuka strips, declaring it's time for their first big job. She grabs borrowed cash for cleaning supplies, looking totally unfazed. Lionel panics, telling Asuka to keep her underwear on in public. It clicked. He halted the girl, needing a moment to process the news. He asks if they're in debt as they flee to the mansion, but they brush him off. They've got a massive estate to clean. He agrees, and soon the girls are scrubbing the mansion to a mirror shine. Lionel changes and weeds the plot, impressed by the girls' elite teamwork and unbreakable bond. Lionel remembered his old comrade, hoping the girls' bond would last so they'd avoid the tragedy facing him and Luke. Lionel stood up, cursing. This garden was massive, and he'd be stuck working here for ages. He scratched his head, annoyed. Lionel stared at the mountains and lake, envying General Kaitos and dreaming of a luxury mansion in this paradise. Exhausted, Lionel eyes the glowing lake for a swim, but Asuka bursts from the mansion windows, ordering everyone on board. She asks to play, but Lionel shuts it down. They've got work to finish first. Asuka tells Lionel they're stuck working here for 4 days and warns him to stock up on supplies. Lionel insists the girls buy work clothes to replace their underwear, but a shocked Asuka claims they're already comfortable. Asuka grabs lake swimsuits, Misha wants snacks, and Miliaria picks the capital's signature dish. Lionel watches the girls chat and smirks. His subordinates are at it again, but he wants to let them waste their money. The girls call Lionel, telling him to hurry before they miss the food. Asuka suggests lake trip swimsuits, Misha wants food, and Miliaria picks the capital's signature dish. The crew hits the city, but Asuka's floored. These aren't swimsuits, they are basically just ropes, leaving her totally mortified. Misha eyes a skimpy swimsuit, teasing she'll wear it if Lionel wants, but he reminds her she's the one choosing to buy it. Lionel eyes the work gear and tells the girls they need it. He's dead serious. The girls suit up in light work gear, but Misha feels her dreams blow away the second she puts it on. Lionel says anything beats working in underwear. At least now he won to have to see their shameless bodies. Misha said the young man was lying and loved seeing them in underwear, obvious from his bulge, shocking everyone in the store. Lionel muzzles her to stop the rumors, but it's too late. The crowd is already whispering and pointing fingers. Lionel shrugged, telling the girls to spend their cash however they liked as they hung on every word. Asuka brushes her hair, warning they rebroke, but Lionel reveals their money problems are finally over. Lionel grins, promising to cover her gear with clan funds back in Haley. After all, the clan always pays for its members. The plan profits from its members, so it supplies elite gear to maximize the payout. Asuka's confused. She questions his story, doesn't believe it for a second, and admits she has some strange doubts. Lionel couldn't stand watching these cheerful girls forced to buy their work gear on credit. She lunges into a hug, screaming. Lionel's the best mommy, Miliaria yells her love, while Misha vows to stay forever. Lionel calls their act a farce, ordering them to drop the attitude and gather food and firewood. The girls quickly fall in line. The boys grab firewood and groceries. Lionel figures it's enough. Misha beams, promising a meat festival when they return. Asuka and Malaria cheer along, but Lionel barks at them to clean up first. Something gurgles by Lionel's ear and vanishes underwater. He locks onto the sound. He spotted a fish, but a massive splash revealed it was a giant. The girls snap Lionel out of his thoughts, yelling for him to hurry. He turns to follow, but a monster erupts from the water, tracking his every move. Deep into the night, Asuka sighs, finally stuffed from the massive feast. Misha smiled, wanting more. The girls were thrilled. Millie turned to the guy, asking if he'd spotted anything strange in the lake. Lionel dismissed a strange sighting as just a massive fish. While the boys washed dishes, Asuka spotted something outside and called for Lionel. The girl calls the city strange. Lionel asks why, but rising smoke and blinding lights reveal the chaos. Panic erupts as fish monsters swarm the streets, mercilessly hunting down the terrified crowd. Lionel and the group freeze as screams erupt. Monsters in the city. How is this possible? Lionel identifies the Sahagin. These fish monsters slaughter humans for sport, not food. They're the real demons. The girls call his name, and he calmly agrees to gear up for the monster fight. He tells the girls to head out and fight the monsters. They nod, dead serious. People begged for mercy, but the monsters swarmed and slaughtered them, leaving no hope for survival. A man orders the dark-haired guard to kill the invading monsters, but the panicked boy admits he's never fought anything this strong. A lizard monster lunges, skewering a civilian with its trident. The man screams his last as blood sprays, leaving the guard in pure horror. He shrieks about the monster invasion, fixated on the beast that just killed a man but misses the one right behind him. One monster bites the guard's head off, another spears him, and a nearby girl cries for her mom and dad. A massive monster looms. She freezes, calling for her parents in pure terror. The girl cowers as the monster lunges, but Asuka appears behind it and slices its head clean off. Asuka reached out to the crying girl, asking if she was okay. The girl stopped and looked up at her. Asuka grabs the girl and calls Lionel. The kid claims she killed the monster, finally safe in Asuka's arms. Asuka hands the girl to civilians and treats her hand, but Lionel screams for her to stay alert. He calls her lucky for hitting the weak spot, but warns these monsters are fast. "Don to show your back." Asuka grips her sword and nods. The beast lunges with a roar. Thrusting its trident, Asuka blocks with her sword, gritting her teeth against its insane strength. She screams, crushing the monster with a sweeping strike and making it look easy. Shocked, the monster touches the scratch on his shoulder. Asuka cheers she finally drew blood. Staring at his torn scales, the monster screams and charges Asuka for the kill. The monster stabs wildly with its trident, screaming in rage. Asuka leaps aside, yelling that the beast is furious. A lizard monster lunges at Asuka with a trident. She dodges in terror just as a voice activates the fire spear skill. A pillar of flame incinerates the lizard instantly, leaving it only one final scream. Asuka spots Miliaria on the roof, staff ready. Miliaria joins the fight, and Asuka thanks her. A guard asks if they're adventurers, warning that the main force is rushing to the lake to treat the wounded. Lionel nods. Lionel calls for Miliaria's backup as she grips her staff, then orders Misha to the lake to cast Restore from range. The guards seize the opening. With the Sahagins distracted, they signal a joint retreat. Lionel points his blade at the Sahagin on the right flank and orders an immediate strike. His men charge head-on, screaming for their enemies to die. Armed with axes and knives, the men rallied and shredded the lizard monsters. Asuka beams, telling Lionel she feels cool. Wiping his brow, Lionel tells her she's doing great. He smiles, warning Asuka to stay sharp. These lizard monsters want to run like weak goblins. She gets it. She'll cover his back while he leads from safety. Lionel rejects her help. They split instantly, both ready for the next fight. Monsters breach the center, so Lionel orders the guards to clear them out, and they move out instantly. The lizards strike. Lionel dodges a flying spear, realizing he's way too close to the danger. Monsters flee and guards pursue. Lionel uses his spirit and numbers, ordering the right wing to hold position. He orders them to bait the enemy, confident they can win. The men obey, hailing Lionel as Lord Strategist. Milia's snipes and Misha's heals held the roof, while the humans claimed victory was just one breath away. Lionel and Asuka stick close. Someone roars about a second wind. They're definitely crushing these lizard monsters. The lizards fall. Survivors cover their dead and mourn. Asuka passes them, spotting a lion on a crate, bragging it's finally over. She signals the boy she's nearby. She hands him a drink and thanks him. Lionel calls her name, looking completely drained. He notices Asuka is exhausted too. He thanks her for the drink, and she flashes a sweet smile. They fist bump. Lionel calls it a great fight, and she agrees with a weary smile. Asuka spins around to find the girl she rescued from the lizard monster, who beams and thanks her for the save. She points to her parents, who nod to confirm they're safe, then shocks Asuka with a surprise gift. Beaming, the girl thanks Asuka for the rescue and hands her a flower, radiating pure joy. Asuka brushes off the girl's thanks. As she waves goodbye, Lionel watches a somber Asuka clutch a flower. As the squad celebrates their monster-slaying win, Luke wanders the night streets, lost in thought. Trapped in a dark void, Luke hunches over, whispering for Fina, the woman he once hurt. His eyes flare with rage as he screams about her betrayal and swings his sword with pure bloodlust. It was all just a dream. Fina snaps awake in pure horror. She wakes up in a hospital bed, letting out a cry as her arm throbs with pain. 3 months since Luke severed her hand, and the nightmares are still unbearable. Touching her missing arm, she realized surviving this world with a broken body was going to be a brutal challenge. Fina smiles weakly, wishing she'd died that day, when Luke suddenly appears in the window, looming over her. Terrified and shocked, she asks if it's really him as Luke silently slips through her bedroom window. Fina nervously reveals Luke broke out of prison to finish the job and kill her. Luke tosses the bag onto her bed, hoping it covers her expenses. Fina stares in shock. Luke knew this cash wouldn't last forever, but it'd buy him a few months. Fina grabs Luke. Certain he hates her, she dares him to kill her, shouting that money won't buy her forgiveness. Fina laughs, mocking Luke for betraying his friends and being abandoned. She taunts him, saying he'll live forever as the man who crippled his own lover. Luke told the girl to stay quiet, then suddenly ran her through with his sword, silencing her instantly. Luke demands Fina's last words, stunned. Her eyes begin to cloud. Luke pulls back as Fina grins through the blood, stroking his face and promising they'll meet in hell. Luke laid Fina down to die. Chuckling, he vowed to hunt the girl next. Luke grins through furious eyes, thanking his brother Lionel, who stares back with pure malice. Lionel reaches General Kaidos' mansion, stunned to hear he's getting a medal. He has no clue what he did to earn it. General Kato relays the mayor's thanks for slaying the monsters, telling the kid to quit being shy and take the medal. Lionel admits the mansion isn't finished, but Kaidos brushes it off. Since monsters interrupted the job, he'll just hire someone else to finish the cleaning. Kaidos snaps that a city hero shouldn't be cleaning mansions, questioning if Lionel is mistaken and leaving him completely speechless. Kaitos and his crew head for the exit, with the general telling the boys to rest up at the young man's dinner party. Lionel's stunned into silence. It's not every day you're the guest of honor at your own feast. Asuka stood behind him, crushed. Looking at the medal, she knew they didn't deserve it. Milia approaches the girl, arguing the city's massive damage proves they don't deserve the medal. Misha interrupts with a kind smile, telling them to stop the nonsense. They saved the city and countless lives. Mishi calls Asuka and Miliaria by name, putting them on guard as they suddenly remember the flower the little girl gave Asuka. Aisha cheered them up. Lionel sees the change. Misha cheers the girls up, and Lionel realizes he should celebrate the saved instead of mourning the lost. Misha's radiant smile had Lionel mesmerized, looking like a holy priestess until he realized she was just cheering for her friends. Misha cuts him off, mentioning a meat-filled dinner feast, but Lionel yells they aren't hungry. At the mansion, the kid thanks Kaito for the suit and the wild night. Kaito's impressed the boy's got potential. Kaitos is stunned. The kid crushed the Sakegans and asks if he'll lead the army. But Lionel notes it's the third time he's asked. Kaitos asks where the daughters are. Lionel looks away, claiming they aren't far. The men stared at Asuka, Misha, and Emilia, all stunning in gorgeous dresses and shimmering glitter. Kaito praises the girls' stunning dresses. Lionel weeps with joy, feeling like a proud mother at her daughter's wedding. Lionel watches the girls mingle, recalling their brutal missions. Asuka, Misha, and Miliaria have matured, but he still wishes they'd act their age. The mayor interrupts Lionel to ask about dinner and greet General Kaitos. Kaitos nods back as Lionel watches the party get drunker by the second. The mayor praises Lionel's victory over the Sakaians, but Lionel's already heard it all from General Kaitos. Lionel shuts him down, shocking the mayor. He doubles down. They're fighting a defensive war, and that's the key factor. These warriors loved their city enough to die for it, and inside the hall, the defenders were filled with joy. Lionel sips his drink and humbly shares the credit. A total class act. The mayor slaps Lionel's back with a laugh, thrilled by the kid's humble attitude. Lionel chokes, wipes his mouth, and glares at the mayor modest. No way he knows it's a lie. Watching Asuka, Misha, and Miliaria smile, Lionel knew protecting what you love is pure instinct. He clearly adored his girls. He remembered their will to protect city or family. Despair forces everyone to fight to the end, even if they hate war. Lionel realizes he just exploited the city's emotions, a task any real commander could have handled easily. Lionel snaps out of it. Analysis mode had taken over again. Kaitos interrupts, looking away as the smiling mayor supports him, declaring that these trials are exactly what forge true heroes. Kaito waves to Asuka, assuring Lionel his daughters will live carefree lives. Asuka greets him back as Misha smiles. The mayor interrupts Kaito, noting his drinking and asking if he's eaten. Realizing he's starving, Kaito digs in. Lionel snagged the fish, relieved to be done with drinks. One quick greeting and he's back to the food. The flavor was insane. He knew a master chef used elite meat to craft this masterpiece. Lionel tastes sour marinade, onions, and wine. This dish perfectly mimics the flavor of premium meat. Lionel trembled. Sure, he could recreate the dish at home. Kaitos noticed and apologized for interrupting his food report. General Kaido orders Lionel back to Gaul. Immediately after the banquet, Lionel freezes, caught completely off guard. Kaitos's worried face signaled disaster. A medical facility was raided and a patient murdered, leaving Lionel stunned. Kaitos muttered to the ignoring crowd that the dead adventurer was Fina. Lionel realizes Kaitos means Luke's old love, Fina. He's stunned she's been killed. She lost her arm, killing her adventurer dreams. Even a normal life would be a struggle. Lionel realized Luke was behind it all. He thought prison changed his former brother, but Luke still wouldn't forgive the girl he'd already destroyed. Wait, the prompt says one line in, one line out. Luke enters a slum hideout. A thug mistakes him for a lackey. Luke draws his sword, claiming the gang and marking the leader for death with a feral, beast-like gaze. The man reports Luke's gone mad. The leader orders his death, and as the bandits charge, Luke readies for battle. Luke lunges, decapitating the leader with a grin, victory already in his grasp. The gang screams in denial over their dead boss. Luke flicks blood off his blade, mocking their leader's pathetic strength. Luke crushed the leader's skull and gave the gang a choice: serve him or die. Terrified, the bandits realized they were facing a monster. Later at the guild, Jennifer thanks Lionel's party for protecting the merchant and busting the criminals. She's stunned they used her as a shield to ambush the adventurers. Jennifer admits the guild messed up, offering compensation and a bonus prize with a friendly smile. Lionel eyed Jennifer, certain this was a setup, not an accident. She just flashed a sweet smile, locking eyes with him. Lionel realized Jennifer used the traitors as a cover. After consulting the victims, she knew the Hope clan was perfect for the job. The guild is powerless against these criminal merchants without hard proof, so Lionel and the girls step in to take them down. Lionel leaves everything as is. Jennifer agrees it's better for everyone. Lionel pivots to Fina's murder, suspecting Luke is the killer, but Jennifer is about to name the real culprit. Jennifer sighed and stayed silent. Without proof, she couldn't name Luke as the culprit. Fino didn't even fight back, but the clean wound proves a master killed him. Lionel asks what's next. Jennifer's clueless, but she's got a lead that shocks him. Jennifer reveals a notorious shadow gang has a new boss, and the news is already spreading like wildfire. Lionel asks if Luke's the culprit and demands proof, but Jennifer admits the guild has zero evidence. She awkwardly insists it's Luke, chalking it up to female intuition. Lionel gasped, stunned. He figured this was that holy female intuition every girl was born with. He waved goodbye, thanked Jennifer for the info, and headed for the girls. Back home, Lionel's glad to be back until he spots something incredibly strange. They left one cat for mice, but returned to find two Lionels shocked he didn't know cats could split and double. Asuka grabs the cat, confirming it's a girl. Lionel scowls, admitting he just hoped he was wrong. Lionel grabs the cat, scolding him for bringing girls home. Miliaria smirks, asking if he's just jealous of his pet. Misha pets the cat, noting the house is too big for it. Asuka agrees, calling the massive place a royal castle, a perfect sanctuary for food and shelter. The girl says the cat was lonely and brought a friend. They beg to keep it, and a panicked Lionel instantly agrees. Lionel orders the girls to start scrubbing, claiming pets have chores, leaving them stunned to be cleaning again. Lionel orders another cleanup, telling Asuka to start while she waits. Surprised, she asks where he's going. Lionel smirked, reminding the girls he had business to handle the moment he returned. A scarred bandit mocks Lionel, asking if he's actually insane for trying to shoulder the three girls' debts. He lent the girls money in the capital pay, back the debt, or it's the mines, or feeding the fish. Lionel pictured their grim fate. Grabbing Lionel's shoulders, the man warned him to remember their deal and finally act. Lionel thought he had it right, but his vision instantly crumbled to dust. A smiling old lady asks if he's Lionel. Introducing herself as Marie, she's thrilled to meet him, leaving Lionel stunned by her elegance. Lionel apologizes for the delay, introducing himself as the girls' clan leader. The woman jokes, asking if he's actually their mother. Lionel fumed at her yapping, but she cut him off to offer the kid help. Lionel's dead serious. The woman funded the girl's start as an adventurer, so she'll definitely pay off this new debt too. She's stunned, calling it overkill, and a nervous Lionel totally agrees. She agreed just this once out of pity. They were constantly in debt and couldn't afford new clothes. Lionel knew this smart woman saved the girls without her. Their reckless, lethal technique would have been their end. They only survived because she bought their gear. Without it, Asuka dies in the first fight and Misha is helpless. Lionel pictures Asuka dying in Miliaria's arms. He pictures the girls losing their only protector. The outcome is dead obvious. Lionel hoped she'd cover the girls' debt. Standing up, she warned him not to spoil them. The woman turns and walks away. Lionel shouts Mary in shock, but she's busy searching for something she hid, leaving him completely lost. Mary returns with the girl as credit history and instantly tears the documents to shreds. Lionel stared at the falling paper, stunned. The woman dropped a bag of cash, admitting she'd hidden it from the girls. Lionel was completely lost. Lady Mary saved cash to clear the girls' debt, and he demands to know why. Mary smirks without her saving their cash. Those kids would have blown it all instantly. Lionel couldn't disagree. Lady Mary was a saint for her incredible kindness toward those three orphans. Lionel takes the cash, wishing Mary was his mom. He vows to protect and train the girls, and after a handshake, Mary jokingly calls him their real mother. Business finished. Lionel planned to check the guild for quests before heading home. But suddenly, a stranger charged toward the young man. A kid slams into Lionel, catching him off guard. He instantly swipes Lionel's wallet and apologizes with a smirk. Lionel intercepts the thief mid-theft, making him howl in agony. The cap falls, revealing a girl sobbing in pain. She screams, demanding to know why Lionel is hurting her. He realizes she's just a normal girl and apologizes for mistaking her for a hunter. She denies it, blaming Lionel for the whole mess. Lionel agrees to go, leaving the girl shocked by his sudden exit. Lionel pockets the item and tells the girl to find him at the Adventurers Guild if she ever needs help. Later, she sighs at the awful meeting until a sudden realization leaves her terrified. Searching for her purse, she remembers Lionel slipped something in her pocket and screams, "Thief!" Later, a girl storms into the guild shouting Lionel's name. He smirks at her quick arrival, but she's absolutely fuming. Lionel tells her to chill and offers to buy tea with his cash, but she screams at him to stop spending her money. Jennifer was lost. She told Lionel the guy was overdoing it, and Lionel just smiled and agreed. Lionel returns the wallet, but she snaps, accusing him of playing hero just to demand a favor. Lionel just wants to talk, but she's stunned and has no idea why. She asks why he's talking to her. Lionel tells her she doesn't need a wallet to rob someone. Without that wallet, he wouldn't have to return and risk the guards arresting him for theft. He stole her wallet but offered to return it. Now she knows his name and exactly who he is. She reveals Lionel leads a clan founded by orphans, a master strategist who hit the top in just 10 years. Jennifer mocks the girl's sweet talk, while a flustered Lionel feels completely overpraised. She mentions the elite Golden Thread clan, instantly grabbing Lionel's attention. She mentions the Golden Thread, then pivots to Lionel of the Hope clan. After apologizing for the incident, she reveals she's a member of the Maygrad Thieves Guild. Lionel realized the Thieves Guild was illegal, but the law ignored this necessary evil. They curb crime by turning orphans into pickpockets and prostitutes. It's brutal, but better than dying outside. They're surviving and saving more lives than the nobles assigned to the job. He realizes she's a thief guild member, and now she's begging Lionel for help. The girl asks if he can defeat their new thief leader, Luke Blade of the Hawk. Lionel is stunned and terrified.